All right. Hi, everybody. How are you doing? I'm Dr. Gail, and this is Dr. Karen and Dr. Rima. Thanks for joining
Rima.
us today. Rima. I'm going to get
Rima.
it. Rima. Okay.
Rima.
Rima. Okay. I'm going to say hello to the people who are in the chat. Hey, Ruthie, you were the first one here. Do y'all know her? Did y'all meet her? I felt like she knows you.
She probably does.
Hey, Vivian, I know you met some people up here.
Yeah.
Let's see who else is here. Vivian. She was the first one when I first went live. She was my very first viewer. So we have a history. Hey, Galactic Fire T-shirts. Hey, Sissy 007. Hey, Faye Cole. Hey, White Dragon. Hey, Dream Journey 1. Oops. Here I go skipping again. Hey, Tina. Let's see who else is here. Spirit Watcher Suzanne. Hey, thanks for joining us. Hey, Chris MK. Hey, Janet. Hey, In-Car. Thanks, everybody, for joining us today. And we are going to be talking about Dr. Karen and Dr. Rima.
Just think of it as an E. Rima.
Rima. Thank
There you go.
Rima. Okay. Then we're going to talk about their ET experiences, which has been vast. I have been talking to Karen for a long time because her pathway is very similar to mine. And so we have a lot in common. Both of us are chiropractors. And so we do have a lot of things in common. Rima is a medical doctor and she is retired right now. So I'm so glad to have y'all here. They were up here in Mt Shasta. It was a couple of weeks ago. Is it a couple of weeks ago now or a week ago? Anyway. But first we're going to start off talking about their ET experiences. And Karen has a whole long history of it. So Karen, go ahead. Thank you.
Well, thank you for interviewing us. What I experienced last year, summer, we went camping in Northern California, and I had trouble sleeping. And so I was just freezing, shivering. And then we heard this owl like right over our heads. And Rima was aware of it. And then we heard this woof screaming, kind of a woof sound. And we both like, this is not normal. And it sounds like they're right outside our tent. And then so she went right to sleep. And then I was just unsettled. And then all of a sudden I saw this huge light envelop the tent above. And I'm going, this is weird. I'm going to go outside. And then I just got this hit. No, stay inside. And then I tried to roll over. And then I saw through the tent like a vision of like the Virgin Mother. And she said, everything's okay. Go to sleep. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I went right to sleep. So I don't know what happened. And then so I told Mary, and then Mary told me to talk to you about it. So I talked to you about it. And you said sometime this year in the summer, June or July, I would have another experience and to call you back. So we did, because we were trying to understand our own experience.
So any more details about that experience? You know, when you went to sleep, when they tell you you're okay to go to sleep, it's usually when they're wanting to take you. You're going to be okay, but we get ready to take you somewhere.
Yeah, I think she was already gone. I was almost going to wake her up, but I don't remember anything.
Okay.
Except I wish I wasn't so afraid.
Yeah, I think it is the fear that keeps us from remembering. And I think when you start developing and you're not as fearful, because we can talk, there's several people that I talk to a lot, and we talk about our journey, and we talk about how the beginning is, we're okay about seeing you, but just don't scare us. Well, we've eliminated the just don't scare us now, you know, which is amazing that our journey has gone that way, that now is like, okay, we're ready to see you. And we don't include that part anymore. So I think that's a big leap, even in my journey, that I'm not saying that. And so, okay, Rima, well, why don't you talk about your?
Well, I was just recounting to Dr. Gail before we started that when I was younger, probably age 11 or 12, I lived in, well, it had to be 12 or 13. I lived in Michigan in a suburb, and my mom and I used to take out chairs in the summertime and look up at the sky and see who could spot the first UFOs. And we did see many interesting phenomena up there. And one of them was so strange that we even called the weather station area. And, oh no, that was just a weather balloon. But it was something that went really fast, stopped, dropped two little white things, and then the white things took off, and this thing went zigzag, zigzag, zoom. And so I thought, whoa, that was pretty cool. And we saw bunches of nights. We would sit out there looking for, our UFO friends. And then I remember watching Dr. Gail for a while, and you talked about being beamed up in on a ship. And I've had meditations where I found myself on a ship as well. And I'm not sure what I'm doing, but they call me Admiral. And it's like,
Oh,
not me.
Admiral. Okay.
Admiral.
So that means you're doing something important for sure.
Well, I figured, but again, when you hear things like that, it's like, no, that
Oh,
I'm
no,
making this
no.
up. I'm making it up.
Yeah, when they told me I was a neurosurgeon on the spaceship, I was like, what? When did I get that education? So
You got beamed.
yeah. So, okay. Well, let's go ahead and talk about the Shasta retreat that y'all came up here a couple of weeks ago. So tell us a little bit about that. Either one of you. Take it. Karen, you want to start?
I think Rima will start because she'll
Okay.
give the background, and then we'll just
Well,
go back.
I was just surfing YouTube, and we've watched Medium Kim Copeland, on YouTube, like we do a lot of other people who have channels. And she had me at Mount Shasta retreat. I didn't care what kind of retreat it was, because we love Mount Shasta. We've been to Mount Shasta over 5 times, 6 times, sometimes camping, sometimes staying at different lodgings there. But Mount Shasta has always been a strong pull for both of us. And then I saw Danny Shea, and I remember seeing that video of the 4 of you, Danny's brother, Billy, you, and Kim, up on the mountain last year, and talking about how impactful it was. And I thought, oh, we're going. I almost signed us up before I even asked Karen, do you want to go? I go running down. Are you done with your meditation? We've got to go to Mount Shasta because there's a retreat. And it was fantastic.
That's good. I've heard really good things about it, about the retreat.
Yeah, talk about how
I was having health issues.
The one thing that I think it was important is that, Danny started us off every morning with meditation, and being the shamanic mode, he had us really in deep meditation, going to the mountain almost instantaneously for some of us.
Right.
And in the afternoons, Kim took over and did a chakra healing on us that was so powerful, and ended up the chakra healing with the singing bowls that you can just not only hear it, but you feel it in your body. And it was the day before, it was actually, I think, the last day of the, no, it wasn't the last day. It was the next to the last day. So all of our, I think each day that we were there, 4 days altogether, our vibrations kept going higher and higher and higher and higher. And we were all kind of like in love with each other. The whole surroundings was beautiful. We had a very wonderful meditative area every morning. And of course, Mount Shasta was always looming over us.
Right. All right. Well, that sounds good. So then, all right. So that ended on Sunday, and then y'all had 2 more days you were staying here. So
we stayed
3 more days. 3 more days. Just Wednesday.
Yeah.
Okay. So then go ahead and say what happened after that.
Well, after the retreat, we decided we wanted to go back on the mountain, because the mountain was fairly covered with snow as you got into higher elevation. So those who know Mount Shasta, we can only get as high as Bunny Flats. And then we've gone and actually hiked to what's called Horse Camp, which is way up there, probably over 8,000 feet. And we had no idea, how much snow was going to impact us going up on the mountain. So we decided, because we had, as a group with the retreat, we did go to Bunny Flats, and we saw how much snow there was. So one of the things that Karen and I did last year is we did a meditation on Mount Shasta with a different group, and they introduced us to 2 areas where there are vortexes. So we remembered where one of them was, and we decided, let's go find our place. And so you're driving up the one main big road that goes all the way from downtown Mount Shasta all the way up the mountain. And it's curvy and it's pretty remote. And we pass where Danny and his brother were camping at the McBride campground. And somewhere between that and Bunny Flats, there's this like turnoff, and it's an unmarked trail. There's no number, there's no name to it, there's no parking area.
It's actually really close to the McBride campground.
It's not that far up, yeah, you know, but there's a couple of winding roads. It's not something that if you were camping at McBride, it would be a hefty trek to get up the mountain into that one area. And that's an important kind of concept to kind of think about. So we got onto our road and we're driving an all-wheel drive. So I kind of bumped around because it's bumpy and it's going uphill. And I'm looking.
Joined us. Kim Copeland has joined us.
Oh, hi, Kim.
Oh, good.
And so I eventually found an area that I can turn around carefully because it is kind of steep. And I'm thinking, I'm not wanting to go off the curves or anything. And I parked the car and we get out and it's chilly. You know, it's June. And for those who don't know, you're up on, you know, several thousand feet up. You feel kind of chilly. So we had layers on.
About 5,000.
You know, and being the doctors that we are, and we've both taken a wilderness medicine conference a couple of years ago in Montana that was absolutely superb. So we never go anywhere without a backpack. And I had a backpack full of first aid, water, you know, the whole bit. We had our hiking boots on. And we thought, okay, had a hat, you know, sunscreen, and we go trudging up the road. And so it's still an incline and it's kind of rocky and there's some divots from the snow, but there was no snow at that time.
Okay.
You know, and so Karen usually walks faster than I do because I'm a birder. So I'm, you know, doing this, looking for birds. I'm hearing birds. I also take pictures. And so I'm looking for outstanding nature pictures. And she's like way up ahead of me. And all of a sudden we hear a car, a white car. And it comes kind of barreling down up this, you know, kind of steep road. And I'm thinking, what are they doing? And why are they on our road? We wanted to be in isolation. We're out in remote nowhere. We shouldn't see anybody. And there's like 2 people in the car and I kind of see them. They both have darkish hair and they go a little bit past us. And I think they saw our car and thought, ooh, let's see what's up here. And for them, there was nothing. So they turn around and leave. So then you could take over.
Mm-hmm. So I'm up about 50 yards ahead of Rima, and I can tell yardage because I used to throw the javelin and discus in the football field. So you can kind of get an idea of how the distance. So I'm up ahead and I'm hearing all this little cracking of twigs. And I'm going, is that a mountain lion? Is that a bear? Deer? Who knows? But I'm just going to kind of keep my awareness open. And I'm always checking to see where Rima is and then slow down if I can't see her until she catches up. And so we caught up and I told her about my experience and she said, oh, it's just birds rustling about. And I went, no, something's breaking twigs. Birds don't really break twigs. They rustle them, but they don't break them. So anyway, so I went up ahead and we were separated in our hike again. And then all of a sudden I turn around to look at her and there's this woman coming up from behind her. So I told her, there's someone a hiker coming up behind you. And then I went on walking and then Rima's experience.
So I felt something behind me. You know, it's just one of those feelings like there's someone behind me. Even before Karen told me there was someone, I had turned and I could see down the trail, there's an older woman, probably my age or older. And she's like running kind of fast up the hill. And so I go into medical mode. She looks like she might need help. Why is she running up the hill? And I'm thinking, I didn't hear a car because we had heard the white car before. So I thought, well, maybe she has someone she's hiking with and they fell and they hurt themselves, because she looks like she's like booking it up, And when Karen talked to me about, hey, there's someone behind you, I turned to Karen and said, yes, I know. When I turned back, she was like really much closer than what she was before. And I could actually, see what she's doing. She's huffing and puffing, and she's sort of wearing non-hiking apparel. So I look at her and I'm going, odd, but this is Mount Shasta, right? So she's a little bit shorter than me, round face, kind of hair that's kind of maybe shoulder length, had some gray in it, wearing like a cardigan sweater that goes loosely down to her thighs, and a long flowy skirt, and sandals of some sort maybe. And I looked at her because she was, and what she said to me, oh dear, I didn't mean to scare you. I'm not stalking you. Now, had she been a male and said that, I would have like, okay, I'm not going to be afraid of you. But for a woman to say she's stalking me, I thought, odd. And I said, are you okay? Oh, yes, I'm fine. And by this time I'm walking and she's sort of walking with me, and we catch up to Karen. And then she says, what to you?
So I said hello, and usually we're avid hikers, so we see a lot of people on the trail and trails, I should say, all over the place. And so after our greetings, she just kept on going up the mountain.
And she asked you a question,
right? I said, "How are you doing in those clogs?" She was wearing clogs without socks. I thought, how do you grip the incline? And she said, oh, I'm fine. I do this every day. I walk up to the area where the tree is over the road. And she said, oh, by the way, are you with that man? And I went, we haven't seen anybody on this road. There's no man. And so she just kept on hiking up ahead. And then I fell back to Rima and started saying, is something strange about this woman? How is she climbing in clogs?
Yeah.
And then so we had our little interaction, and then we kept on hiking and we got separated again. And then I saw her and this really tall man coming down the road, the path towards us. And I said hi to both of them, and they went on their way down the hill, and I just kept on going up because I wanted to see this tree over the road. Mm-hmm. And then their exchange with Rima.
So here I am seeing these two people talking to each other. She's small. I'm 5'4", and so she's about my height, or a little bit smaller. And he's very lanky, very tall guy. And he has about shoulder length, kind of long, dirty brown to brownish hair. He's got a beard, and he's wearing this long brown tunic that looks like it might be made out of either cotton or linen. It's kind of coarse material that has like flowy arms, and then flowing pants that almost look like bell bottoms, but not quite. And he's wearing Birkenstocks. Okay. Not only that, he's wearing brown beads, sort of matching the brown attire, but the beads don't end up here. They almost look like, ashram beads, but they're down to his thigh. I'm looking like I'm thinking that's a really long string of beads, or whatever they were made out of. And he's got on his shoulder a bag of maybe a cotton or the same kind of material. His clothing is, and he does not look like he's got any water on him because the bag did not look heavy. The odd thing is as they're approaching me, they look like they're talking, and then they see me and they stop talking and they're upon me. And I looked at the woman, and she's closer to me, and the long lanky guy, he's younger. He's probably maybe half our age. And I looked to her and I said, oh, nice to see you again. I don't know why I said that. He looks at me, kind of looks down, and I noticed like one eye kind of goes this way, one eye goes this way, sort of like a wandering eye. And nice to see you too. And I'm thinking, okay, did I meet you somewhere else and I forgot? And I'm thinking, but I wasn't really talking to you either. So I turned to her and I said, no, it's really nice seeing you again. And she goes, oh dear. And I swear it was a high-pitched voice like that in that kind of tone. Oh dear, it's lovely to see you too again. And I'm going, these people are very strange.
Different.
Different, yes.
Because usually kind of ask when you're out in remote areas, like, where are you from? You from here? We're from there. And I couldn't even think of questions. And I can't, if I try to remember what their faces look like, I can't see them. And I find it strange because I remember faces better than names.
Right.
So it was just a little bit different than normal hikes.
And what was interesting is after we had that exchange, and I'm thinking it's really strange, Karen's coming back towards me. So I turned to Karen and we have a little bit of exchange. And by the time I turned over to look to see where they are, they're gone. And again, when you're up in the mountains, sound can travel. I didn't hear a car. I don't know where he came from, because if he was already ahead of us, there was no other cars parked anywhere remotely on that place that we traveled on. And the next thing I know is like, they're both gone. And we look at each other. It's like, hey, are they Lemurians from Talos? Are they ETs? It's like the most interesting thing for, I think, both of us was that the encounter didn't spook us. They were very gentle, very loving, kind of like playful. But the weird thing was the cadence of their language was strange. Not just what they were wearing, but the words they chose and how they had the flow of the words together in a sentence was a little off.
Yeah. But I was very calm. It was very peaceful. I didn't hear any more rustling in the trees behind us or around us. But
go ahead. Have y'all finished? Or
that's about it.
Okay. Well, when you contacted me about it, and I was reading your email, I'm going, this sounds just like my dog park experience when I met the people in there, and they were just odd. They really couldn't carry on a conversation. Something was off about them, and I didn't recognize it until the day after that's who they were. And so when I was kind of connect with what y'all were doing, first I asked were they ETs, which I got a kind of yes, and then it went Lemurians, and that was a definite yes. Of course, I know the Lemurians really don't like being called ETs because they feel like they've been here longer than us, so they don't feel like they're off planet, even though they have that ability to go off planet. They just don't consider themselves that. So anyway, it was so familiar that when I started reading it, I'm going, this is just like my dog park experience, where you don't know what's happening to you when it's happening, but you know something's off, something's odd, and you know these people are trying to carry on a conversation and they really can't, and they dress so off. But mine was a little bit longer than that, whereas they had I knew they were. The day after I recognized it, they were reading my mind about everything, and they had my dog running after a ball who never does, and all sorts of things. So,
I felt we were primed because during the retreat, I just remembered we were talking. I think Danny may have brought it up, or Danielle had brought up the fact that, sometimes when you're walking in and around Mt Shasta downtown, you can actually, run into Lemurians, and they often will dress a little weird. And so we were primed. We went down to the headwaters. We collected our water like we always do. And then we took a stroll in and around that area. And then in back, they have all these trails around the headwaters. There's always different looking people. Right. So here we are going, hey, you think that one? What do you think about that guy? Doesn't that guy look a little, and this is before we had our encounter. So I think we were primed. And, the big joke about the Lemurian is that Danielle, I think somebody had mentioned that they had an encounter. And then Danielle actually came with a picture of a Lemurian that she had written down or is drawing. And that guy, yes. Right. And you know, what should we call you? You can call me Al. So we've been singing that song that whole 4 days. And I kept thinking about Al, but I couldn't see the guy that we saw, you know, his ears were covered by his hair. So I couldn't tell, you know, like if he had kind of pointier ears. He didn't look like he had more cat looking eyes, but he definitely was lanky like that guy.
Yeah.
So
well, Danielle will be coming on in a few weeks. She'll be coming on. We're going to talk about him. So
yeah.
So
a great artist. Oh yeah.
Yes, she is. So I thought that was extremely interesting when you talk about. But here at Mount Shasta is commonly known that the Seven Sons Coffee Shop is where the Lemurians will hang out, and they're hanging out outside. They don't go. They go in and order their coffee, and they will go outside. So usually you can go out there, and now you know you're learning. Since I'm so telepathic now, now's the time you try to. I'm more aware of it, so you kind of do telepathic communication, and of course they show you in pictures and things like that. But anyway, I think my first one I saw was at Seven Sons, and we are sitting outside, and there was a guy that was just oddly dressed, and he actually had gold slippers on, and and I was having coffee with a friend, and she's extremely high vibration, and we were sitting there talking, and I was looking at him, and he was listening to everything we were saying. He was on every word. She didn't see him and didn't connect to him, but I did. But anyway, that's a pretty common place here in Mount Shasta where they will go hang out to be, I guess, with humans. Is that coffee shop. So anyway, so next time you're up here,
I was going to say, because I don't think I've been to that coffee shop. No.
Yeah, it's not like in the main street, but it is on the main road. But it's kind of a little more down. Well, anyway, look up Seven Sons when you're coming next time, and be sure you go sit outside, and you'll be entertained. Hopefully entertained, because it is entertaining a lot out there. So
do you think that once you've had contact, that it increases the likelihood that you'll have more contacts?
Yeah, definitely. Well, and it's not also is you've probably been having contacts all along. It's just you're now becoming aware of it. Yeah. So I think you're just getting to place, and to become aware of it, you went to retreat, you raised your vibration, you became very open, and so this happened. You're going to be open again, so it can happen again. So yeah, it turns out most contactees usually have lots of contacts, not just one. Do Lemurians like coffee? Thank you. It's a good question. I'm not sure if they do or not. I'm not even sure if they're drinking coffee when they're there. Lemurians, but they're. I mean, they do
Maybe
try.
they're tea drinkers.
Do Lemurians like coffee? I'm getting a yes, they do. Yes, they do. And that coffee shop tends to have natural or it's more of a natural kind of place, coffees and things like that. So
organic.
Yeah, organic. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we can take some questions more questions for the chat. If y'all have some questions for all of us, you can ask them more questions about the experience, a little more details. There we go. Drink 31. Is that your kitty? No, that wasn't mine. Dirty Harriet. I'm wondering if she's going to come when she hears theirs. What's the name of your cat? What's the name of your cat?
This one is Ruby.
We have 3.
You have 3. So what are their names and what do they look like?
Well, Tipper looks like Ruby. Phoebe is same litter, but a different baby daddy. She's more tan. Brown.
Oh, good.
She'll bring you over, Phoebe, in a second. Good night.
Thank you. There you go. Oh, look at that.
Hi.
They're about 13 years old.
How old?
13.
13.
Oh, mine's 15. Dirty Harriet's 15.
Hi, Bubba.
Oh, they're old ladies now.
Yeah.
Calm down. Mine used to go in and out the doggy door all the time. Now in Mt Shasta, since I'm not in my own home,
Wow.
they'll have the doggy door, and she needs to stay inside. She's too old to go out there catting around.
Right.
So
what do your guides say about this?
about your journey. Well, it was immediate that it was the Lemurians that y'all saw. I mean, because I asked first if it was ETs, and I got kind of yes, and then I went, "Is it Lemurians?" And it was just like this big yes that they were Lemurians. And as I said, Lemurians really don't like being called ETs. A lot of them that live here on Earth or in Earth, it's extraterrestrials. They're not really that. Even though they have the capabilities of leaving this planet, they just don't lump them in that category. So, yeah, they were Lemurians. Definitely Lemurians.
I think because Danny had guided us on several meditations going to Talos, that we were primed, because we were meeting them in our meditations. So I kept thinking, well, did I meet? Because I did it. I thought about that. I said, well, did I meet this guy up there? And he's like, yeah, nice to see you again. Okay, yeah, we must have talked before. Interesting, when I went up to Talos, and Danny had guided us, and he said that you will, have people, Lemurian guides come to you. When I got up there, it was nice to see. It was sort of like welcome back is what they said. Mm-hmm. And I'm going, okay, I never knew I'd been there before. So, I've been up in Mt Shasta many times, but never did a meditation to Talos.
Right.
And so Danny had done 2 of them that I recall that we did. The first one, he really took us all the way through. The second one, okay, some of you are going to probably be up there even before I get you up there. And both of us like, bye, we're up there. We don't need that. Bye, we're gone. Yeah.
I think that the vibration was up for Danny, and you said that Kim had done a chakra cleaning, which I think that's a big part of it too, because then you're open.
Yeah, thanks, Kim.
So I think you were just open to the experience, and then okay, Karen.
Okay.
I'm not so sure that vibration hadn't been up. You might not have even seen them. They might not have been visible to you. They might have been walking around all around you, but because of what you have been gone through at the retreat, you were able to see them.
I think we were very accepting of the idea of seeing them.
Right.
So I think that probably was helpful. And when we were up there, both of us who are in the, helping medical professions, we both went into the healing room. That's where we both ended up all the time when we went in our meditations, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's great. So anyway, we got a question from White Dragon, and this is for you, Rimna. I would like to explore more about your Admiral comment. He is very much associated with the military on the Athena, and so that's why he's asking you about the Admiral. And you remember being called that, but you don't remember any really details about that. Is that correct?
Whenever I'm in meditation, I'll see myself in a chair, sort of, but I can't see me. But I'm sitting in a chair that's higher, and people are coming to me, and I'm like telepathically telling them what to do, and I'm running the ship. Uh-huh. But I don't know what kind, I'm not military at all. And I kept thinking, but I'm medical. Put me in the because when you're talking, I'm thinking I'm there with Dr. Gail. We're doing surgery. No, I'm not an admiral. I have no idea about how to be military anything. So that's why I was like, no, I think they mistook me for somebody else.
Well, I've got a whole lot of military background. Not in this lifetime, but I've seen myself as many, especially as oh my gosh, it slipped me. But I see myself also when I'm looked down and I'm blue, that I'm military then, and that's usually what I look like when I'm military, doing anything military. So I know I have an extensive background military wise, but in this lifetime I'm going medical. I'm medical. Don't send me out doing that kind of stuff. I'm medical. Yeah.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
I perfectly understand. So, you might do well doing a regression session with
Mary?
No, not with Mary. With the guest I have Susie, who is the guest, is going to pull it up for me. Anyway, I just had one with her myself, and I had an amazing regression session on finding out, as she's putting it up there for me, which I can't see, Susie. It looks blank. I'll think of it in a minute. I can't see it. It's not dark enough.
One time I did a regression, a shamanic regression with Mary from Ravens.
Right.
Raven.
Very
Yeah.
Raven.
And she saw this mechanical arm on me. And so that was part of the reptilian wars that I was a part of.
Right.
And then they called me captain at that point. So I went,
Okay.
Yeah,
I
really.
should be an admiral, not a captain by now. It's been a long time.
But anyway, yeah, it's I'll email you her information because I just had it, and she's been on the show. I don't know why her name is slipping.
Barbara Lamb.
Barbara Lamb. There you go. And looks like Susie texted it to me. Anyway, she she specializes in the ETs, so doing regression sessions on that. That's her specialties, and she's been doing it for years. And she makes you go into so much detail that sometimes you're going, I don't want to talk more about that, and then she digs deeper and then digs deeper, deeper. Thank you, Chris, Barbara Lamb. I don't know, when I get on these shows and I start channeling, all 3D stuff seems to be skipping me, like names and names of my stones. But it seems like the more I get into it, the more that part goes away from me. That is the simple things. It'll all come back on channeling stops. But anyway, so you would probably do both of y'all probably would do have a great session with her because of the ET experiences, and she brings it out and goes into the details about.
Thank you for that. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'll send you her information. But she does go, everything is Barbara Lamb with her, so it's pretty easy to find. So, okay, well, so White Dragon, that wasn't much information that you want to get, but maybe if she does a regression session, we'll get more about why she's
back to you, White Dragon.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, all right, let's go to our next question. Hey, Bemused Shaman. So did the doctors make it up to the vortex and meditate? How did it feel? The vortex. I'm not sure.
Where the big boulders are.
Because I feel like the whole mountain's a vortex.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So it used to be when I first got here that I thought I had to be in certain spots, that I had to be, Bunny Flat, or I had to be on top of the mountain. And then the more I got here, because I do live on the mountain, I'm going, oh, wait a minute. The energy is just as strong here. So I began thinking that the whole mountain, even the town, the whole being, all the way down to the lake, I think is part of a vortex. So where was it that y'all were considering the vortex? Did y'all make it to there?
Yeah, we did. After we came down the mountain, we went to this place that we had meditated before with another group a year ago. And it has a bunch of big boulders. And so we sat there.
You used your pendulum.
And used my pendulum to find the spot. And it said yes. And then all of a sudden, this mountain tanager, it's a yellow with little black stripes to it.
Yeah.
Wing bars.
Yeah.
Started poking around on the ground like 5 feet away from us. And we were just amazed because it felt so comfortable being around us.
It kept coming closer.
So I videotaped it, and it kept on coming closer to us. So I thought, well, that's unusual. And then we went down to see McBride. We got some more water at that place, that campground. And then Danny was there, and not yet. They weren't there yet. So we went over to this, the spigot, and then we saw this woodpecker on the ground 5 feet away from us again, which I've never seen a woodpecker on the ground.
I haven't either.
It was picking around, and then it jumped up on a tree that was 3 feet away from me, and then was just starting to peck. And I filmed it all on my phone, and then it flew over to another tree, which was not that far, and I didn't even have to change, you know, how much you could see the close-up distance on the phone. And I just videotaped it until it flew away. And then when we got home, there was another yellow bird, just like that Western tanager, pecking at around the window, fluttering almost like a hummingbird when we were doing our Susan Lynn Patreon session. So it was just kind of interesting with 3 birds in a row.
Yeah, I'm connected to the birds too, especially the crows. They always come with messages to me. They start. I feel like they start barking at me. Listen, listen, listen. And then I have to connect them and get the message from them. Going, hey, I'm hearing you. So how about you? So y'all thought, or you were thinking that was the vortex that you're at. You got a yes from the pendulum.
Yes.
And then the birds were the ones that were reacting differently.
Yes.
It's a very sweet space, and it feels a little bit different than the rest of the trail. So you can feel the energy shift. I think you're right that the mountain is a whole vortex in itself, but I think there's several areas around that maybe it culminates in a stronger maybe section that you have like vortexes within vortexes.
Did they? Was it marked with a lot of stones, things they didn't have? Because there's quite a few places here on Mount Shasta that they have marked, and I feel like those are the stronger vibrational areas too that other people have marked, and it usually stays that way that you can find on the trails. So, okay.
Yeah, as you go up the road, it's down on the right. You have to walk down just a little bit. There's these big boulders.
Well, you're saying a little bit. I thought it was pretty steep down.
It was. Okay. I went. No shame here. I went on my tush. I don't have the best of knees anymore, so I thought, okay, I'm going to be safe. I'm just going to sit and slide down, and
then you don't fall.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's go there. There's no shame in that.
No shame. No shame.
Right. Do what you got to do.
Yeah. So, any more questions, Susie? Okay. All right. We don't have any more questions. So I want to thank y'all for joining us. And I want to thank everybody here for joining us. I want y'all to stay on here for a few minutes afterwards. So thanks, everybody. And our next show, I don't think we have, well, let's see, our next show is when, Susie? Is it, let's see, I think it's Wednesday. And she's trying to write another note I won't be able to see. Our next show is Wednesday, I believe. And anyway, I think the announcement is there. Oh, I can look the announcement up myself. See what that our next show is. And talk about that a little bit, if I can find it. Okay, our next show will be, it's going to be Wednesday, and it's going to be Diana Bowles, who is here. And it will be an oil panel. We're going to be talking about astrology and all about ETs there. So anyway, thanks everybody for joining us, and we will see you Wednesday. All right. Thanks. All right. Thanks. All right. Bye-bye.